Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Above and Below, the Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention's podcast. My name is Sonya Bohmann, and I am the Executive Director of CIASP. Joining me today is my co-host Zulq and our friend Jessica. Jessica, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So my name is Jessica Hallahan. My business is called Journey to Yourself, and I educate about stress management through educating about communication and time management.
Great.
Awesome. And I'm Zulq Malik. I'm going to be your co-host today. I've got a wealth of experience in the construction industry, and I'm proud to serve on the board for CIASP.
Great. So let's get started on this conversation. I'm really excited to have it and excited to have you here, Jess. So for those of you who don't know, you've got two Philly girls and Zulq on the podcast today.
For those of you who can't see me, I'm nodding my head at them.
So we're going to make you an honorary Philadelphian today.
I thought you were going to be making you a Philly girl, which I was going to have to bounce back.
Do that too.
Right.
Okay, so can I break the ice for all the non-Philadelphia people?
Yeah.
Which Philly cheesesteak sandwich? Who's
No.
Come on.
No, it's not a Philly cheesesteak. See, that's the thing. If you're a true Philadelphian, it's not a cheesesteak.
Then tell us what it is.
So I have my preference, but I'm going to let our guest go first, unless you are a cheesesteak girl, which that may be.
No, you can go. Go ahead and listen. I want to hear what you have to say.
I am a chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, sharp provolone kind of girl.
That's
Right?
it. That's
There is nothing better.
That's 100%. Yes, it's 100%. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Zulq, I see you being exasperated by that, but what you don't understand is that the Philly cheesesteak is like the thing that we give to tourists. It's not a Philadelphia.
Tourist trap.
Like it's a roast pork, again, broccoli rabe, sharp provolone, and frankly, a long hot, or a chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, sharp provolone, long hot on a seeded roll, preferably. Like, that's real Philly food.
So what you're saying is high cholesterol, high fat,
Yeah.
and let's just mix it up all together so you don't really know what you're eating. Culinary delight. I know it.
Have you seen the Rocky Steps? We run it back off. We run right up those steps, and then we go get our sandwich.
I haven't been in Philly like 35, no. 40.
Broccoli is a vegetable. You missed the vegetable part.
That's right. Exactly. It's really all the food groups. You've got bread, you've got protein, you've got vegetables, you've got dairy. I mean,
So it's not kosher is what you're saying.
it's complete.
It's not kosher.
It's not kosher for our kosher observing friends, unfortunately, but neither would a Philly cheesesteak be, to be honest.
Cheese Whiz is not really dairy, so.
It was maybe like kissed over by dairy.
All right, so there we go. So now we know it's official. It's not just cheesesteak that reigns supreme. It's some chicken cutlet with broccoli rabe on some cheese and some toast and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, your goodness
Blah, blah,
gracious.
blah.
Please, Zulq. So, Jess, am I right? Or do you
No,
want
you're
to-
100% right. You're 110% right.
Okay, so where would we have to go to get this? Oh,
I want to hear Jess. This time I am going to defer to you because I want to hear your pref. I am a suburbs girl also, so that
Yeah.
does weigh into the conversation.
This is true. I mean, definitely a suburbs girl for sure, too. But if you're going to go to the city, gotta go to the Ready Terminal Market. I love going there.
Okay.
I do like going there. If you're going to be like a tourist, like I think it's good to go there. Yeah.
I would also say Tony Luke's like kind of the beginning of it all, right?
Girl.
Nick's, if you're going to go roast pork, one of those.
you forgot I don't eat pork, right, Saya?
Well, I know, but see, that's the thing is that you're either a chicken cutlet or a roast pork person. So you need to know all of the nuances of the conversation. That's all.
So we got down to it. We know what not to eat. We know where we could go. And what we know with Jessica. So Jessica, I've spent 30 plus years in construction. I can tell you that stress and time management are probably the two biggest things that most people are probably struggling with in the industry.
For sure.
And it's because we're not just juggling stress of work, we're juggling stress of life.
Yeah.
So what insights do you have that you could share with the rest of us?
Yeah, of course. So when I educate, I typically talk about, like I said, the communication and time management piece. So when it comes to the construction site, it's very much about that communication. And when you're on the construction site, it's not just like a lot of times when we teach communication, we're like, oh, make eye contact and things like that. When you're on the construction site, that's not what's happening. When I'm in the the bucket up on the pole, like I'm not waiting for someone to make eye contact with me. So it's being, how do I be assertive? How do I get right to the point? And how do I admit when I don't know something, right? So especially, when there's a new coming to the industry, or maybe they worked at a different company before and now are going from residential to commercial. Like there's so many different things. So how am I communicating like, this doesn't make sense, right? And am I taking that ownership? So I think there's a couple of things that take place.
Oh, that's awesome.
So how did you find yourself doing this? Like what got you here?
So luck. No. So I actually started working at my career. I started as a drug and alcohol therapist. So I was working with men, reducing their sentence from jail, coming into the rehab. So working there and then working at a bartender at night. I know they don't blend, but college doesn't care. College debt doesn't care, right? So I saw like the need from my coworkers to my clients to obviously even bartending with my guests that like you said, is all like stress and time management. That's everybody, right? So I went back to school, got a master's in public health, wanted to be on the prevention side of things. So I created this whole stress management program for my last practicum. And my professor said, hey, did you know that you can make a business out of this? And I said, challenge accepted. How hard can it be? And so August, 5 years later. And so I kind of fell into it in some ways with like networking. When I got my first blue collar job at an HVAC company, I started doing my research because of course I'm like, yeah, of course I can teach to you guys. Really dug into my research when it came to stress management on the job site there and realized the high need for it, whether it was the suicide rating or just knowing that construction is the third of stressful jobs out there. So it's being ranked that high. So it's just really showing the need.
Awesome.
So if you were thinking about like the word resilience, obviously we're in mental health month, right? This episode is going to air during a mental health month. What does that word mean to you?
Yeah. And when you kind of set the question to you, like, it's a buzzword, right? It's definitely a good buzzword. It does mean a lot, right? And I think, it definitely means like, oh, push through, grow, all these kind of things. But I think the biggest one when it comes to resilience is creating that awareness. So when I'm pushing through, am I taking that pause as well to go, okay, took a breath. And then am I, acknowledging and going, okay, do I have to change something so I'm not always living in crisis mode? Or was it just like one of those minutes, those seasons, that hard time? Because yes, push through, but am I doing a check-in afterwards? So I think there's a piece that we tend to forget when we think about resilience is like, yes, we can push through, whether I'm on the job site, I have to work a couple extra hours, or I have to get there early, or there's an issue or something, push through, but also have that check-in afterwards is what's really big and important with that.
So resilience for me is actually part of conditioning. You're conditioning your body and conditioning your mind all at the same time. So I think, for the people that are out there in the workforce, we're going to, what we try to do is give them words that they're going to contend and relate to. But resilience is really conditioning yourself.
Yeah.
Where you're actually putting yourself into your own strength training and mental strength training. And that's going to get you to the outcome that you're looking for. So every day our guys get up. I mean, whether you're stretching, you're deciding you're going to lift heavy weights or whatever you got to do, you got to be prepared for it mentally. So part of this is getting into that routine. And once you get into a routine, I think you develop strengthening and then you get resilience. And resilience is a part of strengthening yourself.
I totally agree.
So
I think it goes back to that communication point that you talked about too, but knowing how to communicate outwardly, but almost communicating with yourself as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
100%, which is not always easy to do.
No, it is definitely not easy to do, right?
So since I'm sandwiched between two lovely ladies, I'm going to say it, you guys know that men generally have a problem with communication.
No, you don't say.
No, I do a little.
Tell me more.
Actually, no, we're good at communicating with each other because we have languages of love for each other. Well, how do we teach ourselves to communicate with ourselves first? Mm-hmm. Jessica, do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, it's really, it sounds so cheesy, but it's really making that time, right? So you were talking about having that conditioning, right? Creating those habits. That was the words that you were using. So again, it's exactly that. Am I making that time to even, like you said, Sonya, to realize what I'm even thinking, right? So if I'm pushing through and not taking that time to say, oh, this was really hard, or this didn't make sense to me, or I'm actually not happy, or this is actually really heavy and I'm going to drop this, or, I don't understand the task that's being told to me, whatever the case may be, but I have to make that time to even have the awareness of that something's not easy for me or that doesn't make sense. And so it's first really just making that time of like realizing what I'm thinking about. So either it's making a lunchtime, it's what I would say, drink the coffee while outside, have a minute to just yourself every day. It's only 1 to 2 minutes. That's all I'm telling people. have 1 to 2 minutes with yourself a day and going, okay, what was say like, what was some processing that I have to do? Create that, like you said, that habit, that conditioning of checking in with myself. So then once I know what I need and want, I can then start to talk about it. But if I'm just going, okay, I have the boss hat on, I'm a foreman now I'm a dad, now I'm a husband, if I keep just changing hats, I'm not having that check-in piece.
Oh, that's awesome.
So do we use the word self-care? I know it's such a tentative word in our industry, right? Construction, as Zulq says, construction warriors don't like to use the term self-care because it seems frou-frou or seems frivolous or, it doesn't seem like it fits, right? So is it about that to a degree?
It is. It's that mental self-care, right? So I think that why self-care gets such a weird woo-woo, frou-frou feeling is because they're like, oh, well, it's about getting massages and your nails done and all those things. And like, listen, I'm not going to turn down a massage or a pedicure. But with that being said, there's so much more to taking care of yourself. And even to that point, it's not just working out. A lot of us go, well, I worked out and I ate healthy. Awesome. That's amazing. What did you do for your brain today? Right? So it's having that time.
Yeah, I think it's very important that people understand self-care isn't just manicure, pedicures. It's really about raising an awareness. Nothing wrong with manicure, pedicures. Right. I won't lie that while we were at a trade conference and my guys were busy on the trade floor and I was getting one. So
it's relaxing,
I got one this weekend. We all do it, right?
One of the things that our industry kind of tends to lack as a whole, and I'll just make that as a commentary, is that the guys who get up are construction workers who wake up every morning. They just want to get to their day. And that 5 minutes in the morning, if you could stop and just prepare yourself, all right, physically starting with yourself, that's probably a step forward into your self-care routine.
So I think that's a really interesting point, Zulq, is that there is that whole, and I know this wasn't the plan for the conversation, but Jess, maybe you can talk about this, and Zulq as well. I think that whole concept of self-respect for yourself or balancing the imposter syndrome and what that feels like for so many people. Like, Jess, give us some insights on that.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about that self-respect, I think there comes with that confidence in yourself, right? So confidence that I can do the job. A lot of times, especially in like the trades world, we're given jobs that maybe we don't really know, right? So we're taught certain things in school and we're taught there a lot more on the job site, right? Especially because things are always changing. So am I having the tools that I need? And so it goes back to that confidence that you were saying, that self-respect. So it kind of really goes in that confidence play of, I can do this, right? I can figure this out. I know I might have to try things out, maybe touch a hot stove, play with this, ask for help here and there. But I really do have the ability to problem solve. So having that confidence by myself going, all right, let me just give myself this 1 second, step away, look at the whole project as a whole going, oh, you know what? I'm just going to do this really quick. But sometimes we're trying to resilience, right? And just push through a problem and we end up making more mistakes. Just like, let me look at it as a whole. It only takes 2.5 seconds. Let me look at it as a whole and then solve the problem. So having that confidence that I can do this is really important.
I gotta agree with that. I'll add my little 2 cents here. People who get up in the morning and groom themselves, whether it's their hair or their face or whatever else they got to do, their hands and their feet. I know that if I'm dressed for the occasion, there's a high probability I don't want to get dirty during the course of the day. And to stay clean, guys, I've visited construction sites. I know what it's like to be on a job site. I've helped the crews out. But my objective is to not get dirty, is to that I gotta step back and reflect on it. Saying, how much shit am I going to get on myself today? Pardon my French, right? And what am I going to think about? So I think that observance that if I'm dressed for the occasion, then I want to go back home the same way I looked like him when I came out. And I think a lot of construction workers, they take for granted that it's okay to have muddy boots and it's okay to have a dirty hard hat. It's okay to wear grungy up gloves and stuff like that. Chances are that's going to set your tone for the day anyways. But if they were slightly clean, there was a little bit of self-care, your hard hat was clean, your gloves were clean, there's a high probability you're going to feel good about yourself when you're commuting to work, traveling, getting out of the truck, visiting the job site, saying hello to a foreman or a supervisor or anything to that effect. More important, when a project manager comes from the office and everyone makes fun of them for how foo-foo their boots are, you're going to look like you belong with them as well.
I want to piggyback on that because I really like that. And so I think to your point, like, if I respect myself, I'm going to respect my job. And I think to your point, like, that even goes into how I take care of my environment at the job site. So a lot of times when I'm talking to the field guys about like their stressors and stuff like that, a lot of times it's like, well, they don't take care of the job site. It's a lot of trash. Maybe whether it's from the materials or it's from someone's lunch or like whatever, they're like, I just want people to clean up after themselves. So I think to your point, if I'm taking that 2.5 seconds again to make sure everything's looking nice and clean, again, I'm not getting ready for date night or an interview, but I'm still looking presentable. It doesn't have to be completely dirty, and then going to that job site, I'm probably going to take care of the job site as well. And all of this just leads to a better work environment in so many ways, whether it's me feeling good about myself or just even a healthy, clean environment I'm working in.
I think people in the industry have taken for granted that it's okay to be dirty and messy, where it's probably it's a reflection of who you are in your own mind certain days of the week.
Yeah.
And I think that if you take a look at us as a persona, as an industry, we need to take that stigmatism away, because it actually has a long-term effect of who we attract into the industry.
Yeah.
Because people go, I don't want to use a porta johny because they're disgusting.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Amen.
We had a policy in our company that we had portable toilets, and they were the heated kind. So it wasn't the porta johnies, the beautiful blue or green ugly ones, but they were actual trailer toilets.
Yeah.
People felt they were dignified when they went to use the bathroom. And we also had a policy, if you left it like a pigsty, guess what? Guess who's on mop-up duty afterwards, right? So little things that, you can do for yourself will also make your employer go, hey, I'm willing to do that extra mile.
So let's talk about kind of some of those ways then that someone could build that confidence that they may not have. How about some tips for doing that?
Well, it's good. I think first of all, it's take that chance, right? So showing yourself that you can do it. So try to problem solve it. Try it. Like if there's an issue, okay, see what you can think of for the solution. If you're wrong, guess what? Then that's one way that that's not the right way. Or maybe it's not the solution for this specific problem. But the only way you're going to find out is if you try it, right? So I think just giving yourself that chance to even try to problem solve, right? Now, if it's an emergency and there's time restraints, I get that, right? But if you have those 2.5 seconds to go, wait, this isn't working, how do we fix it? Give yourself that second to try it, because you're going to realize that you know more things about the industry, the situation than you realize. And again, just kind of like you were saying, so like you're going to build that condition of like, I'm going to figure it out again. I'm going to figure it out again. I'm going to figure it out again,
What other suggestions do you have? Are you a fan of affirmations? Are you a fan of mental agility exercises? Like, how does someone build confidence?
Yeah, I think another way is, listen, I do like affirmations. I do understand why people don't do them either. But I think if you find something, I think there's a couple things. So one way I tell people too is like, I'm leaving the job site, right? It's closed up. I'm driving home now. I could start to ask myself, like, what was one way I was a good field guide today? I was one way I was a good foreman today. One way I was a superintendent today. One good way I was a PM today, right? Whatever the case may be, like whatever your title is, what was one way I was good today or is it seated today? And start to have that, again, give them that second to have that conversation with yourself so you can start to look for those things, because we can drive home going, these are all the reasons why I'm not good today. But if I give myself that moment to go, let me go through why I was good today. And where these affirmations kind of come in is if I'm starting to tell myself these good things, when I catch myself say the negative thing, automatically I'm going to start to say the good thing. Like, oh, remember why you are amazing? Remember why you're strong? Remember why you're confident? So you're going to have that as well. And I think the other thing is starting to give confidence to others, right? So when I say, oh, Zulq, thank you so much. Like, that was a great problem solved. Awesome job. High five. It doesn't have to be any longer than that. Like, we don't have to have a whole event session. Like, noticed, saw, acknowledgement, go, right? And so like realizing that if I start to do that for other people are going to probably do it for me too. And I'm not saying that's why you should do it. Do it because, do it because it's the right thing too. And you build your team's confidence, you build your own confidence too.
I think that's awesome, Jessica. I think affirmation to yourself, but affirmation to your colleagues is very important.
Yeah.
Everyone says who's responsible for the culture, and everyone comes to the ownership of a company to create it. And the ownership of the company is always looking to humans as well, because at the end of the day, you guys, the warriors are the ambassadors of the world for us, right? If they create a culture, employers have but no choice to follow that culture.
Yeah.
When an employer wants to change the culture to create that affirmation in, if there's resistance down there, they can say, well, we tried, we quit, we move on. That's the way you want to live. Congratulations. You want to be in your pig pens, right? But I think it's beholden on every one of us to create that cultural change. And affirmation is actually probably a really good way. And just saying, hey, thank you for helping me with that is a starting point, right?
Agree.
And, for all the aspiring foremen and the supervisors and all those in the world, saying thank you to the guys as they leave the job site, easiest
Goes a long
affirmation
way.
you're ever going to do.
Right.
I really appreciate
way.
it. How hard is that to do, right? Say, hey, hope you get home safely. See you all tomorrow. So there's your simple 2 bits of advice that will change the subculture of your world. And all of a sudden people will start saying thank you to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first affirmation you can get to is from thank you. And then you work your way up.
Well, I think that's a really interesting point that you both brought up. And to just kind of go back to something Jess said is really start saying positive things to ourselves. Because I would never speak to you or to Jess the way that I sometimes talk to myself, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're so hypercritical of who we are personally. And if we can start to change that, thanks, Zulq. If we can start to change that, it gives us a chance to then build some of that confidence, right? How we talk to ourselves matters as much as the way that we talk to each other.
100%.
I say I look awesome to myself in the mirror every day. I'm like, wow, you're like awesome. You're like,
Good. See, then you've got this down pat, and we can all learn a little something from Zulq.
I want to invent the mirror. So here's my idea I really want to invent. I want to have the affirmation mirror, the mirror when you walk by. Oh my God, man, you're so cool.
Now, I do include that. I kind of love that, right?
Every time you walk by, you get a random, oh my God, you look so hot today, right? Like, oh, did you get your hair done? Right? Like, even for us guys, we're losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, could you imagine that in Porta John? I'm like, oh my God, you look the best tradesman I know. Right?
Oh, so speaking of affirmations and things that make you feel good. So one of the things, and you might be seeing it on social media, that our board did this year is that we all chose a word of the year. And CIASP chose a word as a group, but we each chose a word. So my word is intentionality, and really just focusing on, with intention, everything I want to accomplish and where I want to be and where I don't want to be, right? And so I think that from reminding myself of that allows me to have a little more confidence in the decisions that I make, that I'm making them with intention, that there's thought behind them. Zulq, you have a word of the year. What is that?
I did. I'm holding mine off because I'm waiting for Jessica. And I asked Jessica prior to us getting started. It's, Jessica, what do you think mine is? She said laughter, patience. What else did you say for me?
Oh, I said something else. We got our first one.
I'm going to let Jessica guess after Jessica shares her word.
So I have to pick a word for the year, is that what you're saying?
You're going to pick
Tell us what you think your word for the year would be.
5 seconds, go.
I think balance. I got really busy and I want to make sure I'm finding the balance between hustling at work because I want a good hustle, right? It's my baby. Balance with my family, but also making sure I'm still doing me. So I think like figuring out what that balance looks like on a daily basis has been something I've been working on.
Awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
So the reason Sonya picked intentionality for all the viewers today is that she wanted to get as many syllables as she could in there. And that's why she picked the longest syllable. No, not Sonya. Okay, sorry. I know why.
Don't hate on my vocabulary.
I'm not hating on vocabulary. All right, so, Jessica, you have to guess what mine is.
I'm going to give you another guess. Oh, what's my other one? Positivity. Did I say positive? I think that was my first
I think
word.
it was. Yeah.
My first word. So I said positive, laugh, and patience. What
But you're on the right track.
Sorry?
right? I'm on the right track. Okay. I was about to say like a self-care because you mentioned your pedicure and your massage, like maybe like a me time type thing.
I wish I could have more me time every day.
Yeah.
All right, so tell her what it is.
Okay, we're going to let this mess out. My word is grateful.
Oh, I love that. Oh, sweet one.
Thanks. These would be little by word. No, I'm grateful. I wake up in the morning and I'm just grateful. I remember where I came from. I remember where I'm going, but really I stay grounded for the fact that, you know, I wake up in the morning, I'm actually breathing. That's a starting point. You know, I don't really necessarily stress out or think about, you know, some of the other basic necessities that Maslow hierarchy defined for us. So I wake up going, hey, I'm just grateful to have those basic necessities met and maintained. And that I'm just grateful for all that. I'm the son of an immigrant, a grandson of an orphan. I've got a beautiful little girl that I'm proud to be a daddy to. And I'm just grateful for everything I have along the way. So that gives me a chance to say, hey, really doesn't matter what happens today because tomorrow morning I'm still going to be grateful. I'm just going to end off the day on gratefulness. So,
Love that.
That's my word.
All right. So as we start to kind of wrap up this conversation today, Jess, what's one thing that we haven't talked about that you want our listeners to know?
Oh, one thing we haven't talked about. I think I just wrap it together. I think like we talked a lot about communication when it came to yourself. We smidged a little bit about your like making time for yourself. So I think just going back to that really quick, make time for you, right? And I have a cheesy saying, you probably seen it on my page, Sonya, a couple of times by now. Drink the coffee while it's hot. I know I slipped that in there earlier, but it's 1 to 2 minutes a day, right? So how are you making time for yourself? And when that check-in comes, I would say if it's not the coffee, do a closing shift. Every day you sign off of work, what is your closing shift? When you before you go to bed tonight, what's your closing shift, right? So we talk a lot about morning routines, which I love, a good morning routine, but then we go, okay, the day went on. So how are you making that recheck in with yourself throughout the day?
I love that.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Zulq.
I think, Jessica's touched on one thing is checking in with yourself. And the check-in doesn't have to be long. And I think we don't spend enough time checking in with ourselves. And I don't think you need to do it just once a day. In the morning when you get up, your first coffee break, when you're at lunch, before you end your lunch, just check in with yourself. And, the industry is designed enough that we have enough periodic times to stop and check in yourself. And you know what? Don't be shy to check in with yourself. Because if you don't check in with yourself, the consequences are far dire. And if we create the subculture as a person, then we're gonna spread that word around. I was introduced to a concept last week. It's called BAMO. Breathe and move on.
Ooh, I like that. I'm writing that down.
That was in the box.
Okay, but I have to give credit. It came to me from my friend Rob McKinney.
Oh, I know Rob.
Yeah, Rob said, he goes, I was having, one of those moments. And he goes, BAMO. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you got spell check. And he says, no, breathe and move on. And sometimes we just need to breathe and move on.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So I'm going to give credit to my buddy Rob McKinney on that.
I like that.
He's,
Yeah, that's definitely a good one.
and I, you know what? Honestly, I've been exercising it.
Good.
Breathe and move on. When somebody cuts me off, I go cut them off, and then I breathe and move on.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being with us today, Jess. We appreciate your time. And with intentionality and gratitude, we hope you and our listeners find some balance. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Jessica.
guys.
Thank you, Sonya.
All right. Bye-bye.